We'll go ahead and go out of recess. The motion on the floor was to send forward for calculation purposes the updated pay scale that the sheriff's office has requested. So we actually have two motions. We've got a motion to amend to include the pay scale for calculation, and then we still need to address all of 54110, 53920, and 54210, which is courtroom security, law enforcement, and corrections.
I can make one point, Mr. Chairman. With what you have said, Mayor, about the secretary pay and whatnot, I believe I'm accurate in saying that we already have secretaries in the county and highway department actually making more than what's stated here in this pay scale. And, I'm just saying, we have secretaries that work for the county making more than this.
Well, you got to take into consideration, and Eric can add to this if he needs to, that a secretary at the highway department is also a bookkeeper and payroll clerk.
The secretaries of the highway are unfortunately very mislabeled, but you have one who handles purchasing, the other one handles payroll, and that's not a typical secretary function. I don't know why they were labeled that way originally, but they probably should be addressed and labeled something a little different, kind of similar to what we did, where, remember when Mr. Manning came in and said that, she's not really my secretary, she's my assistant, she can do everything I can do, except when she's not a veteran, so she can't be the VSO, and so we relabeled her to be more appropriate there. It's really not a true secretary position.
So what if, what scale are the secretaries currently on, Mr. Allen, Sheriff? What are your secretaries currently?
On the pay scale that's in the book, I thought I'll get the concept.
Yeah, we're just,
It's the same scale that it's in your, you have got your printed 23, 24 budget notebook, it's the scale there.
gotcha.
They're on the, they're named, they're on that bottom tier, and you have that.
I'm not sure that we don't have them.
Would it be beneficial if I made y'all some copies of the existing? If you've already got it, he's got a loose copy.
He's doing that, Mr. Sheriff.
Yeah, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gibson,
Oh, well, probably 15.
Does anybody know that the footnote that's at the bottom of the pay scale, 3, 5, and 7% for different association with degrees? Is that included on the county pay scale?
No.
No. So this would be something that would be exclusive to the sheriff's office?
Essentially, if you pass that as is, yes.
If that's what you pass.
And let me say this is a tough thing to say. First of all, I would be willing to look at, as I said last year, I would be willing to look at making an investment in the entire county's pay scale if there's a case to be made that the rates we're paying are not a fair market rate. And the way that is determined is, are we able to hire and retain employees for those positions? If we're able to hire and retain people at the rates we're paying, then the market would be telling us that those are fair market rates. If you're unable to obtain applicants and you're unable to retain the employees you have, that indicates that the rate is not fair. The sheriff has made that case to us that we're unable to attract, hire, and retain employees, which is why we're looking at this pay scale. If other office holders can make that same case, you made the case just a minute ago with the position we were voting on for you, right? We were offering $35,000, we may as well not even offer it because no degree person is not, it's not a fair market rate, right? So the data, the market dictates that pay needs to be higher, okay? If other office holders can make that same argument, if they're turning over employees, just like the sheriff is, well then I would say they need to come and tell us the same thing. And that's my thoughts on that.
I can address part of that from my office standpoint. The folks in my office are not making enough money, just put it that way. I've only had, since I've been here, the one part-time person leave for a full-time job.
Hey, I agree. I agree that our pay scales need to be looked at, and I do agree that we need to be competitive. There's two sides of that coin. It's, you take care of the people that work for you, but you also compete to win better employees from other agencies or from other counties or whatever. I also don't think we can pay extreme salaries by any means, but I do think we have to remain competitive. I think the trouble that I'm having is these constant jumps that we put small incremental increases aside year after year, and then when that can catches up to us, we're having to do this big monumental tax increase. And that's what gets me. I know I guess my heart what is right. It's procedurally, it hurts when, and I don't care to say it again, $1.8 billion equates to about 14 to 15 cents from $2.31, hold on a minute, $2.3277, is that it? $2.3277. So out of $2.
$232.47.
$2.3247.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
All right. $2.3247 is our current tax rate. $2.32. Let's go ahead and say $2.32.5. If you add 14 cents on top of that, just for $1.8 million, you're looking at 44. And for every 1 penny that we increase, the average taxpayer is going to pay an extra $3 a year. And that's just the average taxpayer. That's your upper outliers whose property values are $500,000, $600,000. It goes up significantly for them for every penny.
Keep in mind also, we've got a bridge we have to fix.
We also have a bridge. So this is what, I know what we should do because of what is right. I also know what we can do that we can afford, because I think one of the things we need to continue to look at is how can we build in small increments so that every time, inflation is something that local government is a victim of. We do not cause it. We have to operate within it. We pay higher fuel costs. We pay employees who have to buy more groceries. I looked up the power of a dollar. In 2017 compared to now, your dollar has decreased its buying power by about 30% just over those few years. So we have to allow our employees to take their paychecks home and buy the same amount of groceries that they did last year. But we as a funding body have to figure out how to do that. It's not a matter of what I think is right. Your officers deserve what you're asking for, 100%. And I'm going to shut up. I just want the budget committee to remember that whatever we allocate, we have to fund. And if we think forward in years to come about small, graduated increases that are built in every year, 2 pennies, 3 pennies over time, we will stay ahead of the game. It's these 14 cent, 15 cent, 20 cent jumps that hurts. That's what hurts. So that's just my thoughts, and I'll hush.
But you have to understand, my office is the only one that spent out over $2 million for nothing. And we'll continue to do that unless that problem's fixed. Pay them, send them out the door.
May I ask the Chief Deputy a question? Yes, sir. The price tag that we're working with, is that pure salaries only, or is it salary and benefits?
No. Oh, yes, that's salary benefits. You're talking about
The 1.8?
sheriff. Yes, that's salary.
Okay.
That's PCR's workers' comp and, social security.
Included? Okay. Just want to make sure, because we keep tossing around how much it's going to cost to fund, and I want to make sure that we're funding all things associated with said move if it happens.
And for draft purposes, I know a lot of it's approximate. You'll have a very specific amount when we get to second draft. And I do want to clarify, this only is for the second draft, or for the first draft.
Well, and just clarification, I think a lot of you probably remember this from prior years, but in second draft, on something as massive as a pay scale revision, I usually put it in a lump sum, sometimes in the respective function, or sometimes as a total at the bottom. And then if you tell me to keep it that way for the final draft, I actually put it into the individual lines where those people will be paid from. Because, you tell me to put it in, you tell me to take it out, it's a lot of work. And so I put the numbers in there so you're aware of them, and then once they're gonna stay is when they actually go into individual line items.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a motion?
Yes, sir. Well, see, we've got one on the floor right now.
We got two, don't we?
Yeah, we have to. We have the motion to move forward these line items, and we have a motion to amend and so you can
A
amend
motion to amend.
to send forward the pay scale as requested is on the floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We made a motion to send it
As it, but now you can amend that if you like. You can amend it.
I would like to make an amendment to move forward with the current pay scale to leave secretaries and cooks on the current pay scale and adopt all other employees, to the new pay scale.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yes. I would like to,
Josh, it could be a problem, they're TCI certified.
We were talking post-certified.
Yeah, hold on just a second. Let's get the motion on the floor, and if we need to correct it, we can.
so my motion was to keep secretaries and cooks on the current pay scale and to adopt all other positions onto the new pay scale. And we can discuss that if it's on the floor.
So secretaries and cooks will pay at 17.12.
Correct.
So how many secretaries you
Hold on a
got?
second. Can we get a second?
Three, how many cooks?
Can we get a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Okay, go ahead.
Now, how many cooks?
Two.
Two.
Three positions.
Three positions.
Yeah, two occupied, but three positions.
So 3 and 3.
Or just two, three cooks?
And actually, the staff is filling in for those positions. But they should not be listed as a cook. They actually work booking and other places. Actually, one of our person right now is being trained at Hawkins. That's changed over the years.
So when I was there, we actually looked at the kitchen and you actually had inmates, I think, I'm correct, inmates were doing the cooking. So what you're saying is a officer is in there with, so you're not hiring a cafeteria staff to cook, it's officers overseeing inmates that are doing the cooking, that's what you're saying. Which is why you're saying that wouldn't necessarily be fair, because they could be doing other jobs.
So at that point, they're more of a guard.
They're a correction officer is what they are. Period. They do the same duty. And we're gonna have one retired.
So I guess your new pay scale will eliminate that actual title.
Yeah, well, we can take it away now. It's listed on the salary thing as, we got these three positions for the thing. They still get paid out the same line item. Everything's still the same, but they still got to do 16, they still have to be PCI certified, still have to go through training.
Do we need to make an amendment to just eliminate cooks?
Well, if the committee would be okay with it, I'd allow Mr. Gillen to kind of change that, unless you all wanted to make another amendment on top of that one. We
You
do
can
that.
only do 2 amendments on one motion.
No, did you? Okay. Thank you. So if he wants to withdraw, or if he wants to change it.
I can change my amendment to exclude cooks from the. Okay, we change my amendment to say that secretaries would stay on the current pay scale.
Because you said your cooks are correctional officers. So really, we only need a people that are cooking.
You don't put an ad out to hire a cook, is what you're saying. You hire correctional officers, we have them. Gotcha. Okay.
So is the committee okay with him just informally doing that?
So now the amendment is to leave the secretaries on the current pay scale and advance everybody else to the new pay scale.
Correct. For calculation purposes.
All right.
See where it puts us in. Mr. Harris.
Any questions about this amendment to move everybody forward except for secretaries? Okay. Ms. Sarah, we call the roll.
Danny Elvis,
No.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Jason Roach,
No.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
Tom Kern,
Yes.
John Gibson,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer.
Yes.
4 yes, 2 no.
Okay, so motion passes. So now we're back on the sheriff department's fund. That includes, let me clarify one more time.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
We're back on the original motion for everything that addresses the sheriff, corrections, law enforcement, and court security. Does anyone have any other questions?
Was I amending an amendment, or was I?
You were amending an amendment. Yes,
So
you're
we're
back
back
to
to
the
the
amendment. Thank you. I'm the one that's losing these Robert's rules today.
Well, we had a lot of motions.
We did. So we are on the amended amendment for the pay scale. All right, so Ms. Sarah,
Motion to amend that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
just a second.
Because now we're amending the original
The
motion.
original amendment, you can do that, yeah.
I want
Hold on,
to
just to clarify, Ms. Sarah, do you have,
Give her just a second to catch it, please.
so Ms. Sarah, right now, we're on the amendment to move forward the pay scale itself.
When I heard John make his motion, he did make a motion to amend. He made a motion to put the pay scale on the table so we could discuss it. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
What,
But, I mean, I guess there has to be
it
action.
has, there has to be an action tied to, it is a motion to move it forward, that, it has to be an action. You can't just put it on the floor to
Right,
discuss. Yeah,
So,
so,
the motion originally would have been to add it as an amendment.
right.
And then we talked about it, and Josh made the amendment to that motion.
I've got that. Right.
So now we're back to the original, and move to the new page.
as
As
amended.
amended.
But Mr. Gibson,
Additional amendment pending.
yeah. Okay, Mr. Gibson, go ahead.
Alright, I wanna make, just so we're trying to get closer to a uniform county pay scale, I wanna make the amendment that we exclude the, degree additional percentages. I mean, I understand that's important to have the degree associated with it, I don't think it'd even be that big of a cost savings, but it's just more of a getting on more of a uniform.
The
scale.
motion has been made to exclude the 3% and 5% incentives for associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. It's now open for discussion.
Sheriff, does the change in degree status change the job, description for these officers? So whether you have an associate's degree or master's degree, it don't matter, you're still gonna be doing the same thing. You don't get anything else added to your.
It's the pay increase for, right, most of my administrations, they don't want to have degrees.
Okay, so,
I think it's a fair compromise with what we're doing.
I think that speaks for itself. If they're not, if we're not adding to their requirement.
Well, and, thinking of it as an employer, what value does it add to us? And that y'all have to answer this. So what value does it add to us for us to have those degrees? Or for them to have those degrees?
It was an incentive years ago to get them to be more trained, because it's in criminal justice and know more about the law and make better officers.
I understand.
So proper training on the job, that can be done. We're already doing it.
Excuse me.
We're training them to be good officers now.
so, in looking at the, okay, so I'm comparison, and I can do this for your highest administrative staff, Sheriff Lawson. Right now, with the 5% increase, would make $69,095 a year annually. Your highest administrative staff under the new pay scale, given credit for years of service, would make $83,886. I mean, if there was no 5% incentive on top of that. I mean,
It's fair trade.
Yeah. I think it's a fair compromise.
I think it's fair compromise.
Any other questions?
Chief Allen, you're shaking your head no.
No, I'm agreeing with the boss, I mean, that's,
He's one of them.
we're trying to get onto a scale,
Yeah.
and I understand going throughout the whole county, that's just separating us even more again. We're just trying to get on it, so, I keep arguing with you, sir.
Thank you.
Alright, so you've heard the amendment to withdraw the 3% and 5% incentives for degrees. Any other questions?
That's seven.
And 7, I'm sorry, I missed that.
That's on the new one.
Okay, 3, 5, and 7. Ms. Sarah, will you call the roll on that one, please?
Danny Elvis,
Yes.
John Gibson,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Tom Kern,
Yes.
Jason Roach,
Yes.
Nancy Barker.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
I may already get it.
I think I found a 13 or 17.
What are we gonna do with those? Just leave one out?
So they would go on as a new pay scale anyway, just as a pay scale issue.
Okay,
I mean, they would just lose their incentive.
understand.
Okay, so we're back to the pay scale amendment, the original amendment that we were working on. Any other discussion? Alright, so just to clarify, the amendments are, we're pulling cooks out of the pay scale, and then we pull the 3, 5, and 7% incentives out for degrees.
Thought it was such a
Secretary.
Thank you all. Alright, so we pulled secretaries out, and then the 3, 5, and 7% increases for degrees. Alright, Ms. Sarah, will you call the roll, please?
Tom Kern,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Danny Elvis,
No.
John Gibson,
Yes.
Jason Roach,
Yes.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
Joshua Gillum.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
Alright. So now we're back to the sheriff's budget, and that is courtroom security, the sheriff's budget, and then corrections. Are there any other questions about that budget? We've not really looked at it very much.
Kind of ranges from pages 27 through 31. And now that you've addressed the salaries, I don't know if you want to vote on them as a whole, or if you want to vote on them per function.
Yeah, we've already grouped them, they're
That
already
was the
there,
motion.
for that place stuff.
Mr. Chairman, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
We just did.
Uh-huh.
I want everybody to keep in mind, I don't necessarily work for law enforcement, but I've seen firsthand, when you don't pay your employees, and I believe I made this comment before I officially took this position, Mr. Chairman. When you don't pay your employees, the service will decline. I've seen it in healthcare. We got to the point in healthcare where we were not sufficiently staffing our facility. We made it happen. But the staff suffered in mental and physical stress. Yes, this is a big pay, this is coming with a cost. But if the citizens of Hawkins County want to maintain the level of service that they are getting now and improve it, you're gonna have to pay for it. If you call 911 and you want an officer there, 14 cents ain't gonna matter. You want an officer there to protect you and your family. So, I just want people to remember that.
Alright, thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other, questions or discussion about these three, portions of the budget?
In the corrections, portion of the budget, under line item, the 340, medical, prescription reminder, was that the one that you all had in the negotiated rate that was going up? That we're trying to, it's a reimbursement type thing, it's something with the state. Can you remind me on what was going on with that?
Are you talking about the Southern Health one?
Yes, that's it.
340 Southern Health.
It's, Southern Health, most of the time, they always send the sheriff every year a 3% increase. The sheriff's got a good working relationship, he always tells them, but every now and then it will hit us that they won't come off of it. And, we have to prepare for that, but that is the bill that comes out is the exact same bill every month, and whatever's left over always goes back to the general fund. We usually don't make a full run of that. Unless we have a large medical bill that comes in.
It looks like it's just actually gonna get it closer in line with actuals, I don't take a closer look at it. And the only other large increase, expense thing I'm seeing with the jail would be the food, and that's basically gonna be a fixed cost there.
That's increased.
Yeah. That's all my questions, thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Seeing none, Ms. Sarah, we call the roll for these three votes for, please.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Tom Kern,
Yes.
John Gibson,
Yes.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Nancy Walker,
Yes.
Danny Ellis,
Yes.
Jason Bruce.
No.
6 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
All right, moving on.
Page 32, juvenile services.
So,
All right, thank you, Mr. Gibson, is there a second?
Second.
Who's the second one?
Mr. Gillum. All right, it's on the floor for discussion, any discussion on juvenile services? All right, seeing none, all in favor of moving juvenile services forward, let it be known by saying, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Allen.
We just wanna make sure, can we get excused? If the question
Yes.
comes up,
We-
I can be back in 5 minutes.
Okay, if the question comes up, I'll call you. Okay, yeah, but you're good.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, all in favor of moving juvenile services forward, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. So now we're on fire prevention and control.
So,
You want to handle those in contributions?
I was gonna ask the question, if you pass it as is here, you're essentially declining their new request, so you may wanna put a pin in that one, or maybe you wanna hit them as they come, but just wanna make sure you're aware you're addressing contributions, which, I think you mentioned earlier might be later.
Yes, I think that is wise. Hold on. All right, other, department, other emergency management, so this is EMA and there's a new request there, correct?
There is.
Correct.
All right.
You've got that on your green sheet as well as the handout for the employee cost.
Mr. Gibson made the motion to move, other emergency management forward, is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Gordon. It's on the floor for discussion now. Say that again.
You've got the request, the new request on your green sheet, it's the bottom one there, there's 3 of them, and then you've got the handout for the employee and the costs associated with that employee.
I'm willing to answer any questions you may have.
What's the total cost associated with this, sir?
Well, there's several, you have the, Mr. Miller can speak about this more intelligently than I can, but you got the command post at 19.5. The vehicle, I've got to be determined on there because there was multiple options, so depending on which option you were to go with would obviously have an effect on the price of the vehicle, as well as Mr. Miller was gonna offer up, I believe, some possible grant funding and or trading of a vehicle, or maybe both, I'm not
Correct,
sure.
correct,
Yeah.
both. We can address those one by one if that's easier, Jason, or however you wanna do that.
We can we talk about the new employee first?
We can.
And, kind of what drives this is I'm on 18 scale as well. My comp time stays nearly max, especially near the end of the year, kind of day, the same as Eric's does. We're on that scale, we're obviously working within the hours allowed in that scale, so that's what creates the need for some of this. To give everybody kind of a brief overview of where we're at now versus where we've been, and I'm gonna use this as an example of an actual event here in the Beach Creek search. I got a part-time deputy director, had a large amount of availability. He had a full-time employer that would actually allow him to come out here and assist out as well on type searches like that. We don't have that availability now. During that event, my part-time, everyone except for my deputy director was assigned to just keep things running, keep fuel and things. We still have that. We use Randy for that a lot. Randy shuffles a whole lot of fuel on those type of events and that type of stuff. But, we've tried to fill that position before. We can't retain him for that position. That worked a couple months, find a better option and move on. So Eric has the figures for, scale 10,
You have one?
So salary grade 10, step 4, and those figures are on, the 18-20 scale. I don't know if we wanna leave my department on that or move my department to the 2080. I can tell you my department acts as 911 for 911 sometimes when we have these large events, when everything's overwhelmed. My phones are in, hey, we need help, we've got to get these other counties in here, we've got to get these resources in, that type of stuff. Every strain that every other department has, that strain comes down to my department to some degree. We're asking for outside resources more, we're relying on those if a major event happens, that type of thing, which takes coordination. You all are making strides forward to make sure we handle our events within our county, which we have to do. We can never prepare for every event, but if we're always reaching out for outside assistance, that'll eventually come with financial obligation. So, that's just some things I had to, another thing I put on this last night, just thinking about this, our wildfire risk continually increases in this county. Like what happened at Gatlinburg is not unheard of in this county. We have a subdivision in Wittenberg with, very valuable houses that you could have the same style, scenario happen down there, a lot of tax base in that area. We're also having a lot of areas that never had any type of housing or anything like that, but people are pulling dozens of campers on. This initially started out the lake, it's progressing across the county. I'm seeing it around Clutch Mountain quite a bit, that people are just filling the fields up and woods and stuff like that with campers and stuff. So our wildfire chances continually increase as the county changes like that. I don't know how much that changes our census either, because a lot of people are weekend people that come into those type areas. So a lot of that risk might not reflect in our census. And like I say, available resources in the field, just like the sheriff said, and the chances of a disaster in this county continue to increase, because our resources are decreasing.
So, Eric proposed a salary grade 10 for a new employee because he said he needs somebody with an accounting finance degree. What are you looking for with a salary grade 10 in your office?
I'll give you an example, and this is the best way I know to see this. We want somebody in that position that can handle disasters. I've been in my position for 5 years. I can step back out of my position back to where I was at, and it would be a pay increase. I think to recruit somebody with the type of experience like I have, we're gonna have to be at least 10. Am I willing to take less than that? Absolutely. We'll do what we can and try to get the most prepared person in there. My people are trained in ICS training, and you want that person that, you don't want the first event that they're working to be a bus accident, 40 students around. You don't want the first event they're working to be a wildfire that 40 houses are involved. You want somebody there with experience that they're they're not in an emotional crisis, just trying to manage that situation. And it takes money to recruit those type of people.
Jamie, would there be any concessions in part-time personnel in the event that we're ready to hire another person for you?
Yes, we left that open, and we didn't put that on the sheet, but if I can offer about half of that money, I would recommend not doing any less than half of my part-time money, because that gives me an opportunity if there's a disaster, if there's a tornado that rips across the county, that gives me the ability to hire people quickly in this position, even if they're not full-time employees, just to help with managing, that style of event. Tornado like ripped through Green County, that came through in 2011, I think she closed that out in 2017. So that tells you how much workload that put onto that office. They were still receiving payments into, that many years later. So the recovery from a large scale event like that takes a long time, but the initial, response to that, we need some ability to move on to manage some of those things. Typically what has to happen after a disaster like that, you have to find some place to start housing, like, small business administration, offices like that, just to get your community back up and going.
So you've asked for 31.5 in part-time for this year, so you could do with 16?
Yeah, we can get that to 16.
Okay.
And we would be taking those funds, like I said, I'll set that full-time position.
Right.
I've got the grade 4 on here. I like to have flexibility to go to grade 4, but if we don't get a candidate that qualifies for a 4, we also will hire them in a 4. And we wanted that discussion between me and the mayor, whoever needs to have that discussion on what grade, or what step we start the person at. But,
So
a lot of people.
Is there any kind of degree required with this?
There
Or is
is.
it just the training that they receive?
On job training and experience.
So no degree.
No degrees required for this position. And I'll be honest with you, in my opinion of the degrees, I've not got a degree. There's professions that's great in, I know nursing and school teaching are some of the fields that's a great need. This field, in my opinion, is more of a trade. It's something that you learn the trade by experience, just like eating is. We're short of an associate's degree by 19 hours, but those 19 hours wouldn't change what I do per day. It actually takes you away from the field and away from that work to obtain that degree. So it actually decreases your experience.
Or so you're saying you did certification?
We do. We require ICS 1, 2, 7, and 8, and then there's several 16-hour courses that they take on top of that. My average continued education every year is about 60 to 80 hours, and I would require the same for anyone that's coming in. Meetings and workshops and stuff of that nature. Next week, for example, I'll be leaving out on Monday, and I'll come back on Thursday, and then we continue education and a workshop that we're in Murfreesboro that's required in the state. Very fun.
For those of you that have a salary scale, what is grade 9 step 1 and grade 9 step 4?
You said grade 9, step 1, it's 38,500. And grade 10, step 1?
No, grade 9 step 4.
Oh, so 4, sorry. 43,269. I assume you wanted annual, did you want hourly or anything else, or?
No, that's not fine.
I can't answer for my employees, but I can answer for me. And I would try to hire someone the same mindset as me. If we approach a dangerous environment, there's a chance for a rescue, there's a chance for an intervention, we will not hold. It doesn't matter who's there. Law enforcement's not there, and we think we should intervene, we're gonna intervene. And I don't think my people are less valuable than anybody else's. I'm not knocking on the sheriff's office by saying that, because I think they would come to me. passing up grant opportunities right now. We might apply for 10, not get any, we might apply for 10 and get 3. But we're passing up opportunities just because we don't have the workload. They would assume some of that. This position, since we took on the radio position, there's something going on near every day radio related. They would also assume those roles. I would not have any problem at all keeping somebody busy for the number of hours allotted. So a lot of times we end up having to be on multiple mountaintops at the same time too. I may have to have somebody on a short mountain, I may have to have someone on town hall at the same time. We obviously work with radio vendors to help out with that as well, but sometimes it's as simple as rebooting the system on one side while the other side's coming up to get connectivity back. When that communication system goes down, that's our top priority. There was a storm event that came through Bulls Gap, Robbie's familiar with this, took down probably 100 trees or something over there, large diameter trees. We never even responded to that event, even as big as it was, because we had to abandon off of that event to get the comm system up, because we took lightning strikes on our communication sites. So it would also give us the ability in those type of environments to maybe separate, get one person out to the emergency, one person to the radio sites to try to get everything in time. But we prioritize everything that comes in. 24/7, we're monitoring what's going on to some degree. We've got pre-alerts inside our phone that keep us situationally aware of what's going on in the county. Sometimes numerous small events are just as bad as one large event. And then when one large event happens, the small events doesn't stop. It's not gonna call them nearly storm events. How high have you seen the numbers on some of the storm events? I know it's been up over 100 on a few of them per hour.
Per hour,
Yeah.
as far as calls?
Yeah.
The highest I've seen was, I think it finally come out around 60 calls per hour.
So 60 calls per hour at the very beginning. I think the total went on one of those was over 100.
Yeah, the actual calls for service was well over 100. We actually had them on 2 screens.
But some of these
trying to
storm
manage them.
events, we're just getting anybody we can out the field to block those type races. Another risk that comes in here, we were talking about risk earlier. If nobody responds, there's risk. If I don't have anybody seen in the highway department that have anybody seen it, there's definitely risk involved. The way our highway department handles those events now is they answer the calls as they come in until they get overwhelmed to the point that they're just calling back in, getting the calls once they get clear on their lane right now. So a lot of times we'll fill in there if there's a major event to get out there and just get it stabilized until someone else from the highway department can get there.
Are you calling out on those, or you just go?
I received probably, and I'd have to look right here to see exactly.
Say the fire department, when they go out on a call, director.
Just in the last week, I've got six alerts on here. The fire department goes out, we evaluate that by what's going on. Sometimes they do request us, sometimes we go because the event kind of scales out to the point that we need to respond or whatever the point may be. We don't take over, it's not our job to command that incident, we're just there as a resource if they need us. A lot of times we'll end up, if it's an event that's single degree digits, we're out there with blankets if needed for the people, we're getting them in contact with the Red Cross. So a lot of times we're never out there firefighting, but a lot of times we're just there as a resource if those departments need us. We try to get someone out there every single time we're requested, but I'll be honest, it doesn't always happen. We've had a few come through that we're having crawler requests at 3 o'clock in the morning for a couple points of oil, which I'm guessing the next morning, so. But we always try to respond to those that call.
Jim, you may have mentioned this when I was out, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is also the year we have to revise the emergency plan.
It is, and we've started that process. Basic emergency operation plan, which increases the workload on the office, happens once every 4 to 5 years, and that's this year that's happening.
Which is basically, it would be too much of an assumption to say that by doing the emergency plan, looking for grants and things of that nature will take a back seat to dealing with that.
Like I said, we always prioritize our office, so that basic emergency operation plan has to be completed. So that's taking precedence as far as our office work. There's a larger event in the field, obviously we'll respond out to them during those times, but we're not exploring the grant opportunities when we're going through each of those plans. Each of those plans is going to require a meeting with everyone that's involved in those plans, just to make sure that their buildings hasn't changed as well. So that's going to create multiple meetings.
The monsters.
You know, between me and other department heads, just making sure that their buildings have not changed. Okay.
On the grant writing, do you not utilize First Tennessee Development District? I use them all the time, and we pay them to write our grants, so I was just curious as to why.
I personally haven't.
I keep hearing grants, but, you know, and I know, you know, I wrote $200,000-300,000 this year. And, you know, I guess I'm trying to figure out why we're paying an organization to write grants for us, and I keep hearing you all say y'all have to write the grants. And I do realize you have to get information to them.
Yeah.
But once you get the information to them, they write the grant,
And
and
they
they do administer them.
but they charge an administration fee too.
But they write that into the grant 95% of the time.
Right.
So
But it's not like we've got them on staff to write the grant. When they write a grant, they get paid.
Right, that's part of, that money's included in the grant.
Yeah,
they
but I
write.
just wanted to make
So it's not
sure
an additional fee.
We didn't think that First Tennessee does it for free.
So just going through the list, I'm just gonna start at the top. The very first 45,381 First Tennessee Development District has nothing to do with that. It's administered by FEMA and overseen by TEMA, which is the emergency management performance grant. The next one down, the fire rate goes to the ARPA money, so whatever company we're using for
So
some
we
of the
hire
ARPA
a company to do that.
Maybe
We
involved
pay
in
extra
some of that.
money for that.
But they do not absorb all the work in that grant by any means. We're still meeting with vendors, we're still doing programming, we're still doing any reprograms in the field. We're getting the devices out, we're taking back any warranty work, we're absorbing all of that work as far as purchasing and warranty. The no before cybersecurity is coming from the district, that's district money that doesn't deal with First Tennessee Development District either. And then the RCAM donation is through the health department. The only one through this whole list that would be a company like First Tennessee Development District on this complete list is the one where we got the science paid for. And it was through Evans Company.
CPE, Community Development Partners.
Which the county chose to go with them for that grant. But they're a similar company to First Tennessee Development District. And that was right in my office as far as picking who administered that. But that's the only one that was that style of grant. Those grants that you're speaking of, there is some increased workload that comes to our office, and part of it's impossible to do. I'll give you an example. The highway department grant, they wanted us to identify every 100-gallon tank, and this is every community block development grant yearly. They want us to identify every 100-gallon tank that's within a 1-mile radius of that area, of that facility. They're not required to report that to us, so any farmer can have a tank out there, a 100-gallon propane tank. That 1-mile radius actually catches Dodge onto that perimeter. So we do our best to do site visits and identify every one of those 100-gallon tanks, but it's impossible to find everyone. I documented that on the bottom. We did our due diligence to try to identify. One of the park there, the 1-mile radius on it, had several gas stations in it, the co-op, several of those type of facilities. So each of those comes through, takes an hour or two minimum to figure out.
Do they require you to visit the site? Because if you wanted to gas, right after this, call the gas company and say, how many have you got in that area?
It's not only gasoline, or not only natural gas, it's gasoline. Actually, if it's any product, even if it's water or energy, they want it identified.
Mr. Miller, I think we kind of talked through why you need the new employee. Does anyone have any specific questions about this position for Director Miller?
And I'm willing to work with any of those agencies for any project that And I can go further detail outside the meeting, if anyone has further questions on
In order to move forward, we need, a motion to amend, to add it into the other emergency management line item for calculation purposes. And of course, he's presented it as salary grade 10, but that's up for discussion as well. Anybody want to take action? All right, let's move forward with the other emergency management as presented without potential new employee for EMA. Any other discussion on that portion of the budget?
The others have, the vehicle, we can eliminate off just about half the position, there won't be a need for that. The command post is a effort to decrease overall, size of vehicles needed. We have that listed at 19.5. Our vehicles are typically used as our command post in an initial incident for the first couple of hours, or when we go to church or something like that. This command post is just a place for all the department heads to gather, to command that incident. This will be about half the size of the one we have now. We have to have a large truck to pull the one we have now. I'd like to eventually get rid of that truck, just because of the overall maintenance to keep that truck up. If you look at the paperwork, it doesn't look like it costs a lot to keep that truck up, but it runs very well. Every time we go out, we have to fix something on it. I mean, whether it be a brake line, batteries dead, something like that. And obviously, it's the lane if you're sitting there jumping off batteries on the vehicle when you've got a large incident that you need to get this to. So that's just an effort to try to alleviate that need as far as a large vehicle. I have 19.5 on here, but we would take equipment out of the one that we have now, and we would surplus the one we have now to sell, to go back into the general fund to offset that.
All right, does anybody like to take action on the command post request?
Is it currently we're using churches or whatever?
Currently, we're using, that's something we set up temporarily, like in Summer Wells, we use the fellowship hall from the church, and we use this for command and communications. We're gonna eliminate the need for the communications part through, when inspecting out a vehicle, we'll take care of that. There's our funds that was approved. So we basically just need an office area with a fellowship hall or something like that's not needed. The one we have now that we're replacing is 34 foot, we're looking at like a 20 or 24 foot. Much more mobility, much easier to get into these high locations in this county. 34 foot, it's just a huge trailer to be trying to pull into the back areas of this county.
We'll just go ahead and get rid of that.
We won't have anything during the interim if we get rid of it. Yeah. So I would like to get something in place where at least we have something, during the interim while it's not.
Any approximate of what the one that we will be surplusing would generate?
This is just an estimate, but I would think at least $6,000 to $7,000. It's something, it has a restaurant in it right now, someone could buy it, maybe use it for an office space, but they more than likely would purchase that to use for a race car trailer or something like that.
I'll make the motion, we'll go ahead and include that command post.
Okay, Mr. Gibson's made a motion to include the command post in the EMA budget. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Kern. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Sarah, will you call the roll, please?
John Gibson.
Yes.
Joshua Dillon.
Yes.
Robbie Palmer.
Yes.
Danny Ellis.
No.
Jason Roach.
No.
Tom Kern.
Yes.
Nancy Barker.
Yes.
5 yes, 2 no, motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
I paid you concerns, I'll do like I can to run our department within the main vehicle.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Which will likely have issues as it does now.
All right, moving on to the county coroner, medical examiner.
Did you vote on it as amended?
Oh, we did not, thank you, Sarah. Sarah's voice can't stand out when she speaks. So moving forward, the EMA budget as amended, we need to do a roll call on that, thank you, Sarah.
Tom Kern,
Yes.
John Gibson.
Yes.
Danny Ellis,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Nancy Barker.
Yes.
Jason Roach.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Moving on to county coroner, medical examiner. And I think Mr. Gillum has a motion about that.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to send it
Second. Second by Mr. Palmer, any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of moving the county coroner, medical examiner portion of the budget forward, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. 54-710, which is public safety grants program.
It's gone.
Oh, gone. Yeah, I see that. It's zeroed out.
It might change in future drafts, but I mean, it's going to be the remainder of the grant. I don't know if there's really much action for you all to take on that grant. It's already been approved.
Okay. Moving on to,
The next one's really contributions.
okay, other public safety, that's E911, so yeah, we do need to move that one. All right, so now we're at public health, that's 55-55000, local health programs, local health center. And we probably need a reminder of what's going on with this one, once we get it on the floor for discussion.
Fair enough.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Gibson, is there a second? Second by Mr. Palmer. Okay, Mr. Buchanan.
Mr. Street probably did a better job of this presentation than I would, but when he was here, he asked y'all to consider the regional accounting director's request for the Department of Health to adopt their scale. As we discussed, we have the 3 pay scales, or potentially more now, but we have the 1950, which is exclusive to the health department, their 7.5-hour day, and it creates a lot of inequities within that office when you have the county employees on the 55110, the county employees on the 55190 through the DGA contract, and then the true state employees of the health department. And of course, they all have state email, so whenever somebody else gets something, everybody knows it. So the request from them was to consolidate and to put them all on their scale. Portraying that accurately, I think.
Yes.
And also, in the offset, he was going to no longer fill 2 of the positions that was on 55110. So even though the pay scale might be slightly higher for those individuals, the net paying out for the county would be reduced by the 2 vacated positions. So I hope
That's why we don't see an increase in salaries and wages.
Well, actually, what you don't see really is the drastic decrease. That's just based on years of service for the current people, and then a placeholder for the vacancies. But if you move forward with that, and I pull those vacancies out, you'll see a much larger reduction.
How many county employees would this affect? You may not know this.
It would affect, 4 in 55110, 2 of which being vacated. So 2 employees of 55110. In a 55190, that's a more complicated question because the grant has more positions available than what's filled, but the county would never feel any effect from 55190 because it's completely state funded. So the only county vulnerability is in 55110, which is just those 2 people. And I actually, if you don't mind me to just read you for a minute, I got a follow-up email this morning from Mr. Street. He asked, for a letter of commitment, and I told him that you all were still discussing it, and although it was looking favorable, no action had been taken yet. And he informed me and Mark that apparently Hawkins County is the only county in the Northeast region that has not provided a signed letter in this English. So they would strongly prefer for us to make a decision and commit, apparently where they're holdout.
Well, unfortunately, this is for draft purposes, so there's not gonna be a commitment until we move the final budget forward.
That's the same way me and Mark saw it.
That's what we saw. I mean, we said we might be able to do a resolution in May. I don't know that we can. His deadline's June 30th. And I know he's, anxious to get it in hand and we're the last holdout, but I prefer not sign anything until the commission says go. If we can do this June 22nd, you'll have it plenty of time for the 30th.
I mean, I wouldn't think we would be able to send a letter of intent. You could share with him the decision we made preliminary, in a preliminary fashion, but
It's not gonna, we could share it with him. It's not gonna matter because what he's looking for is this signed contract.
But those changes are reflected in this budget, so if we pass this,
No, sir.
it's not.
No, sir. No, that $1,177 decrease that you see is just, expensive outgoing employees to cheaper newcomer employees. That reduction would be far, far larger, if that's what you opt to do, and he does voluntarily vacate those two positions.
Didn't he say it's gonna be around 85,000?
I can't remember.
I think you're right. Well, I'll make a motion to amend then with, the salary reduction or how do I need to word it?
I would say to adopt the state's pay scale for the remaining, health department employees.
Okay, so I make a motion to adopt the state pay scale for the remaining, county positions and to eliminate 2 positions at Mr. Street's discretion. Or as requested, I guess might be a better way to say it.
okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Barker. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Sarah, will you call the roll on this one?
John Gibson,
Yes.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
Danny Alves,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Jason Rhodes,
Yes.
Tom Kern.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Alright, so that takes care of 55110,
As amended.
as amended, yes, so we need to make that vote for as amended. Alright, so, 55110 as amended, go ahead and call the roll, Ms. Smith.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Jason Rhodes,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Tom Kern,
Yes.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
Danny Alves,
Yes.
John Gibson.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carried.
Alright, thank you. Moving on to, we're probably gonna put 55130 aside as well. What do you think, Eric, is its contribution?
Correct.
And 170?
55170 is just merely in there because they're still data in the 22-23 column. No action needed on that one.
Okay. Other local health services, 55190, we've already applied the salary plan to that one, but we probably need a motion to move it forward too.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum.
Second.
Second by Ms. Barker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving other local health services forward, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. 55900,
No numbers in the 24-25 fiscal year.
alright, so senior citizens, this is charitable contributions?
Primarily, no. However, the 316s in it are. So it's kind of a hybrid.
Well, they're not asking for any.
No,
Uh,
just Gibson's.
Look, I don't put any in there with
That's
the
right,
increase,
you're
so they
right.
may.
You're right, you're right. y'all wanna go ahead and take care of this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Increase from North Park Community Association, I believe. Is that right?
Care if I make a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to move this budget forward with the $400 increase requested by Churchill Senior Center and the $1,500 increase requested by Squirrel Senior Center.
All right, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded by Mr. Kernan. Any discussion?
You said 400 for Churchill and 15 for Squirrel.
Is that $400 or 400,000?
$400.
Okay, I was just wondering. Well, y'all throw around a lot of numbers. You'll say 400, you mean 400,000. I was just clarifying.
So that, the way they got to the numbers with the senior center, that was when both, like a few years ago, before we were on this commission, they cut everything by a percentage rate. So is that 17?
Probably, most likely it was 17, 18.
Because I know I actually had talked to somebody from Mount Carmel Senior Center who asked me to come down to the budget hearing, and she kind of made the comment she wasn't asking for more money, but just did remind me how they took that $400 cut back in the agency during that time. So I mean,
You want to amend it?
yeah, I'm making a move that we just include that 400 from Mount Carmel as well.
$400 increase?
The motion has been made to amend and add $400 back to Mount Carmel.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Gillum. Any further discussion on that? All right, so that's the amendment. All in favor of, including Mount Carmel's $400 into the budget, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, so now it's as amended with Mount Carmel included.
Just to make sure I have these numbers correct, it's 20 for Churchill, 20 for Mount Carmel, 4,900 for the Rogersville Community Association, and 6,400 for Chicago Senior Citizen Center. Is that how you all have it?
No,
No?
Correct.
I don't have the Mooresburg, I didn't have that.
Well, that's in the,
That's in the budget, okay. So I was thinking you were saying additional, I'm sorry. An additional 400 Churchill, 1,500 to Mooresville, and 400 Mount Carmel.
All right, Ms. Sarah, we call the roll on this one.
John Gibson.
Yes.
Jason Rhodes.
Yes.
Danny Elvis.
Yes.
Joshua Gill.
yes.
Tom Kern.
Yes.
Robbie Palmer.
Yes.
Nancy Barker.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
All right, so libraries would be next. That's contributions as well, we can hold off on that.
Y'all had to vote to move it forward, to move the whole budget forward, or?
I did.
Okay.
You voted on the amendment, the first amendment
It
by
was
John.
with-
But he made the motion as amended, right? Or
Oh, okay.
he had the motion,
I think we voted on the amendment.
okay.
I voted on his amendment.
I thought you made the motion to include all of the requests anyway.
You voted on Josh's amendment, now you gotta go to John's.
I know, apparently I need some more training, I forgot about that. Okay, so let's go ahead, it's not hard anything if we did it once we do it again. So, moving forward, the full budget, the senior citizens assistance budget as amended. Ms. Sarah, call the roll.
Just a second.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna go on, so,
Danny Elvis.
Yes.
Increase.
Robbie Palmer. Tom Kern.
Yes.
Nancy Barker. Yes. John Gibson.
Yes.
Jason Rhodes.
Yes.
And Joshua Gill.
Yes.
7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, so now we can switch gears. Libraries would fall under contributions, so we can do that one after lunch if you like. We're on to parks and fair boards on page 40.
is the supervisor director in this?
John,
John Young.
Okay. I couldn't, like,
And if anybody knows, anybody wants a part-time position there, let me know. We're still,
So, I'm sorry, we're doing the library. Is there a new request from one of those, the library? Mr. Pons, talked about it.
I think we're going back to that after lunch.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I'm gonna go back. The only reason I did the senior citizens then is because it was kind of partially contributions, but most of it was built into the general budget, so.
I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, no worries. I got a little confused there myself. So we're on Parks and Fair Boards. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of moving Parks and Fair Boards forward, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, 57000, which is Agricultural Extension Service.
Second.
Motion to move forward by Mr. Palmer, second by Ms. Parker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. On to Forest Service. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Kern. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving Forest Service forward, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, Soil Conservation. All right, Mr. Palmer's made the motion, seconded by Ms. Parker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving soil conservation forward, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Flood control. Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kern. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving flood control forward, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Stormwater management. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Second by Mr. Gibson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving stormwater management forward, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Other operations, economic and community development, and tourism. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Second by Mr. Gillum. Any discussion?
Are we doing anything else on that board? Or are we just doing the ads on magazines?
This is for the ad. I mean, with everything else we do for tourism is just kind of, grants.
Actually, for this $1,500, what you get is you're with the Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association. So anything that they promote Hawkins County throughout the year, you really get a big bang for your buck.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving other operations, economic and community development, tourism forward, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving on to industrial development. Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Thank you, Ms. Parker. Any discussion?
Holston Business Group, are they in, why is theirs zero?
They're not in here anymore, they're not reduced,
Okay.
but I moved them with other contributions. Mr. Elkins always had it as a point of contention, and I ran out of this year to see if they cared if I moved it, they did not, so I moved it. It'll no longer be an industrial board budget.
All right, any other questions? Ms. Sarah, will you call the roll on this one, please?
John Gibson.
Yes.
Joshua Gillum.
Yes.
Nancy Barker.
Yes.
Danny Ellis.
No.
Ronnie Palmer.
Yes.
Jason Roach.
Yes.
Tom Kern.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
All right, moving forward to airport.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Kern. Any discussion?
We did discuss this after your neighbor money, right, this year?
We're close.
Out of that $82,500 that's budgeted, $30,000 that's for fuel that is to be resold, correct?
Yeah, that's an expense that we recoup, more than recoup.
Did
because
we make
mark it
money
up.
on that, like actually create revenue off of it?
Yes, we mark it up.
And you got an inventory, so it fluctuates up and down.
Right.
All right, any other questions? Ms. Sarah, we call the roll on this one.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Jason Roach,
Yes.
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Paul Kern,
Yes.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
Danny Ellis,
No.
John Gibson.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, motion carries.
All right, moving forward to veteran services. Thank you, Mr. Palmer, second by Mr. Gibson. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of moving veteran services forward, let me know by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. And we've got another contribution there, so we need to come back to that one.
And employee benefits.
Employee benefits. Yeah, okay.
Make a motion, move it on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gill. For a second,
Second.
thank you, Mr. Gibson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving employee benefits forward, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Do we need to take action on 58808? Eric?
I feel you don't, but it's up to you all. You already have, it's a grant, it's already approved. However, the grant will not be fully exhausted in the current fiscal year, so I'm carrying over what is on spend.
Let's go ahead and.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gibson. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of moving, 58808 COVID-19 grant number 8 for the health department forward, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
No money in 24-25 with the sheriff's department grant.
No money in 24-25, okay. So we don't have to mess with that one. We don't have to mess with all the grant A.
Correct. Next one will be miscellaneous.
So 58900 miscellaneous.
And that large increase is the, other part of that industrial board decrease.
Okay.
You'll see they match.
All
This
right,
is where it was reassigned to.
Mr. Gillum,
Yeah, make a motion, move it forward.
is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Barker, any discussion?
And can you, explain the trustees commission to me?
Yeah, there's, most, not all, but most revenue the trustees commission comes out of it, and so it's actually a good thing. If you didn't need that, it means you're not bringing in new revenue. So anytime we're bringing in additional revenue, we need additional trustees commission to allow for that collection.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions about miscellaneous? All in favor of moving miscellaneous forward for draft purposes, let me know by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, so this is litter and trash collection. Do we need to do this one or group it together with the highway?
It actually comes from the general fund, so I would do it by itself.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gillum. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving the litter and trash collection, budget forward, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, so.
Might as well.
Yeah. All right, so, can we just do this, just do the whole 80000 debt services as a group?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll, shoot, we gotta have a motion for it, but, can a motion to move forward debt service?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson, is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Crown. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving 80000 debt service forward for calculation, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. So 99100.
What is that?
IRS requirement.
John, for what?
IRS requirement. When I was reading to you guys about the debt services, about the QSCAD, subsidy interest has to flow through the general fund. As a formality, you probably should, but this is an audit requirement.
Make a motion to send it on.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Palmer. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving account 99100 forward for calculation, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. That takes care of Gillum. All right, so we got 15 minutes until 12. You want to knock out one or two more before we go to lunch? Let's do it.
Based on time, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
you may want to jump to the debt services. There's not much discussion to be had there. Those are just quick ones. We can knock all three of them in a 15-minute window.
Okay.
I would recommend doing them fund as a whole. It's up to you all, but you can't do a piece and not do the rest.
Okay, so general debt service and highway and education, what you're saying?
Yeah, 151, 154, 156.
All right, folks, let's look at general debt service to start with. Sorry.
Make a motion, we send this on.
Yes, sir, Mr. Gillum. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gibson. Any discussion? This is all of, 151. All right. There's no questions. All in favor of moving general debt service fund 151 forward, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Going on to education debt service, which is
Highways next, if you want to do highway first.
highways next.
So moved.
Thank you, that's highway number 154. Mr. Gibson made the motion for a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gillum. Any questions or discussions? All in favor of moving highway number 154, debt service forward, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. And then education debt service now is, fund 156.
Make a motion, we send it on.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. Second by Mr. Palmer. Any discussion?
If I remember correctly, there could be opportunity to move money out of this fund or cap this fund, but you recommended not doing that in case they have projects to do, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Are any other questions? Ms. Sarah, will you call the roll, Ms. Woodville?
Robbie Palmer,
Yes.
Tom Kerr,
Yes.
Joshua Gillum,
Yes.
Nancy Barker,
Yes.
John Gibson.
Yes.
Danny Elvis.
Yes.
And Jason Rhodes.
Abstain.
6 yes, 1 abstain, motion carries.
Okay.
Might want to grab 171. It's also relatively small, straightforward.
Which one is that?
General capital projects, fund 171. General capital projects, fund 171.
This is when we moved to solid waste.
I think so. Do you remember doing that, Eric?
I didn't hear the question.
This is the one we moved to solid waste, we capped solid waste.
Yes, the local option sales tax, yes. This is where the excess above the cap is moved to. And you'll see that reflected on the revenue on page 1 in line 402. It says 70, I'm not sure that's not supposed to be 40. I'll check on that.
Are there any projects still outstanding left to come out of the?
Yes.
1.8 that's estimated to end there, are there any projects that we haven't, that are not taken out of that 1.8, or is that is what we should have in there for this fiscal year?
I'm sorry, of the 1.8 you're referencing, talking about the revenue, the cap?
No, sorry, I'm looking at the estimated ending fund balance, and I think I have my column wrong. We're estimated to have 2.173 million in there at the end of 23, 24.
I'm with you now.
My question is, are there any projects that we have coming out of that, or is that a true figure you feel like?
It's still an estimate, it's definitely in the estimated column, but I've estimated it high. So for instance, if you go to page 2 and you look at 9110707 building improvements, security for the courthouse annex, that $55,000 has not been fully expensed. Sarah has told me that her intent is to have it fully expended before the end of the fiscal year. So if anything, that figure might get a little better in the 23-24 column, but it would just get that much worse in the 24-25 column. So no net effect, but I have concluded that project. The one right below it, you'll see nothing got expended in 23-24, so it got slid over to 24-25. Trustees Commission is a moving target, that's an estimate. I've tried to aim high, hopefully it'll come in a little less.
All right, any other questions on 171?
I'll just make a comment, Mr. Chairman, is if we, ever have to adjust revenues, as, we may have to do with this budget, I would encourage us to, make sure we feed this fund well. I think it's very smart for us to do that, and, a penny or two here or there can make a world of difference, because that's always the stuff that gets us, is the stuff that's 5 million at a time, 2 million at a time, and we don't have the money. And, so I think all of us, as we work through this, just remember that, consider that when we wrap this up.
I would echo that. The counties that make a conscious effort to contribute to the general capital projects fund issue less bonds for items that are very foreseeable. But if we don't feed this fund, we will be cash poor, and we will always be calling, Cumberland Security, which I'm sure they don't mind to come down and do, but we can save money when we pay cash.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All in favor of moving 171 forward for calculation, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Did
I
I?
think Josh just asked a question, but I don't think.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Move
so-
that forward.
Motion by Mr. Gillum, seconded by Mr. Gibson. I really am sorry.
I thought I missed it. I was asking Eric who did it.
Okay, so the discussion's kind of already been had. Does anybody have any discussion? Okay, now, all in favor of moving Fund 171 forward, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries.
I would suggest, maybe trying to do 122 or 128, if you're trying to hit at 12 o'clock for lunch, and then we would still have, after lunch, solid waste and highway,
122.
drug fund.
That is our drug control.
As well as contribution for lunch as well, sorry, I forgot that.
Motion to send it on, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Mr. Gillum.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gibson. Okay, now the floor is open for discussion. Seeing none. All in favor of moving Drug Control Fund 122 forward for calculation, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. On to other special revenue fund 128 ARPA.
Motion to send it on.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. For a second? Second by Ms. Barker. Any discussion?
My only question would be, what is the balance that we have left to allocate, that we gotta allocate by the end of this year?
I'd have to pull a different report for that, I don't have it with me, but I can have it after lunch.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor of moving, Fund 128 forward for calculation, let it be on the same aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, folks, it takes us, break for lunch.